Hello, everyone, and welcome to Global Headquarters Native News Today. This is Jason Salzman, your host, letting you know in on everything going on in Indian country this week. And let me tell you, there's quite a bit because we had so much stuff crisscrossing the state, we had to cut it back a little bit and cut some stuff out and reschedule it. So we were real busy this week, and I'll tell you why. First off, we had a flutist, Muskogee Creek flutist at the district court come by, Mr. Nelson Harjo, and he played some flute for us and also talked about making these flutes and what it means to him to be a flutist and everything like that. And also at the same time, we were able to visit with acclaimed Creek shell carver Dan Townsend. Now, last year, Mr. Townsend, you might have remembered, was the featured artist at the Tulsa Indian Arts Festival. We talked with Dan, too. We also went to Oklahoma City to get an update on the AICCM, the American Indian Cultural Center and Museum. That's coming up, too. Stay with us. We got a lot coming up. It's going to be a great show.
My name is Patrick Moore. I'm the district judge for the Muskogee Creek Nation. I want to invite everyone to the 6th annual Doing Business in Indian Country continuing legal education course offered at the historic Mound Building at the Tribal Complex in Okmulgee. We will have people from the entertainment industry, professors who will lecture on the prognosis for the future, and the National Indian Gaming Commissioner, Mr. Philip Hogan, will be here. The Oklahoma Bar Association has accredited this course for 13 hours of continuing legal education. We also offer 1 hour of ethics, which is a requirement of the Oklahoma Bar Association. If you have questions about this continuing legal education conference, contact the district court, Muskogee Creek Nation, area code 918-758-1400. It's my honor and pleasure to have Nelson Harjo, a Creek flutist, play at the CLE this year, Doing Business in Indian Country, Muskogee Creek Nation.
One of the main facets of Native American culture that people love in general is the music. A lot of great music out there, and specifically flute music. It's one of the most popular forms of Native American music that there is, and we were able to visit with Mr. Nelson Harjo, a Muskogee Creek flute player, and Nelson gave us a lot of insight on the art of flute making and really what he gets out of playing the flute and what it does for his soul. It's a really wonderful story, and we enjoyed being able to talk with Nelson. We are in the Muskogee Creek Nation District Courtroom, and I've cornered Mr. Nelson Harjo, and Nelson is an accomplished Native American flute player. And Nelson, just tell us a little bit about your flute playing, flute making actually as well, and how you really got involved with all this.
All right, let's see if we can figure out which question to answer first.
Okay.
I know I never really paid that much attention to our Native American music until probably about 20 years ago. And then I began to hear different flute music played. Of course, there wasn't that much out there back, 20 years ago. And the first time I ever got a chance to hear it, I got really intrigued with it. But I couldn't find anybody to teach me. And, I was also a Methodist minister at the time, and we had a camp in Arkansas. This little Choctaw gentleman came up here. And basically, he just kind of put us through a quick course on it. And you could make a flute. The flute could kind of play, but it wasn't really what I was looking for. So I spent the next 10 years after that trying to find the right sound. And right now I felt like I've come somewhat close, but I still know that it could be a lot better. So that's kind of how I come along to wanting to make flutes, and that's why I am making flutes now, because I find that flute making not only does the sound, and when you hear a flute played, a lot of people, you hear them, they begin to talk, they say, man, that's so soothing, it's so calming, and, it takes you to a different place, just relieves a lot of stress. But even in the process of making a flute, seeing that piece of wood, seeing that piece of bamboo or river cane come to life to be able to make the sound that's in it, it's pretty neat, because when you sit back and you see other people play your flutes, and then you hear the sound come out of it, that's just, it's really a feeling that's hard to explain. It just makes you really feel good, and then you see that piece of work. And sometimes the pieces that I make, and I'll show you one here, and this is a piece of river cane. Mm-hmm. And if you look, it's a 5-hole river cane, and that's a traditional flute for the creeks. It's river cane. A gentleman asked me one time, he said, I wonder why they use river cane. And the only thing that I could really think of was the fact that, you know, the river cane, where did it grow up at? It grew up by the river. And one of the things that, biblically speaking, and speaking even from our own traditions, that flowing water, you know, is alive. It's life. It's something very spiritual. So my thoughts was that the reason they picked river cane, even over bamboo, was the fact that it was right by the river, the water was flowing, and that was a symbol of life. So therefore, that cane was going to have a lot of spirit to it. And so, you know, when they picked it up and they began to use it, you know, one of the uses that our flutes were made for, traditionally speaking, would be to, you know, like, you know, back years ago when they lived in tribal towns, it was to soothe the spirits of the people. And sometimes, as with our chief and stuff that we have today, you know, there's a lot of big decisions that need to be made. And sometimes the flutist would be called in order to play so that he would calm down, so that he would have a better idea of how to lead his people and which direction to take them. So the flute was used in a lot of different ways. There's songs that they talked about that are medicine songs, but those songs I don't know. And really, I think the medicine song, to me, even though I don't know the ones that they were particularly talking about, I really think that those songs really were just songs that were played truly from the heart, that you felt like God gave to you at that particular moment. And so when these songs were played, well then, whatever type of healing needed, you know, it was given.
Absolutely. And you talk about these flutes, they're alive, and they also are a means of opening up the mind, so you can be able to make good decisions, sound things like that. And that's going to come in handy because you're going to be playing your flute this year at the District Court CLE Conference doing business in Indian Country. And a lot of people might be able to open them up and have that way of thinking. So what I'm thinking right now is, for us, a special treat. Why don't you make one of these come to life right here for us? Can you do that?
I sure can.
All righty. All right, fantastic. Mr. Nelson Harjo, everybody, thanks a lot for being with us today, and we look forward to seeing you out at the conference.
Okay.
Now, we all know there's lots of Native American artists out there that do well and that are famed and have their work sold everywhere, but not a lot of them carve on shells, and that's what this next man does, Mr. Dan Townsend. And not only does he carve on shells, he does it probably better than anyone that can call himself a shell carver. The man is absolutely fantastic, and his work is unbelievably beautiful. You have to see it to believe it, and courtesy of Native News Today, you'll get to see a little bit of it here with this next piece.
My name's Dan Townsend. I'm with the Muskogee Creek Tribe out of Florida. The council house is located in Bruce, Florida. And what I do is carve shells. I've been carving shells full time for the past 3 decades. I grew up in the Everglades and the Florida Keys, and my family is in the Panhandle of Florida. And 77, that's where I moved to be closer to the tribe. I brought in this stuff to show Judge Moore the shell work, and there was some other people in here that we were talking to about the shell carvings and what we want to do for the classes that we can give to get college credits for college courses. But most of the work will be done in shells, and the traditional shell will be the lightning whelk conch shell. That's the shell that was used traditionally. It's the sacred shell because of it, I believe, because of it turning counterclockwise, the direction of power. And that shell only comes from the Gulf of Mexico. And lately it's been hard to come by, but we might have found a good source for some of the lightning whelks, and that's what we'll use when we give the courses. But the course will consist of making shell gorgets, medicine cups, ornaments, utensils, tools. Everything was fashioned from this shell. It was the most important shell of the Americas as far as I'm concerned. There was other shells used like the river mussel shells and the quahog that the wampum's made from. That was a valuable shell too. And the reason the wampum's so valuable is because of the labor that went into the shell bead. Out of all the seashells, the quahog is the hardest of all. So it's really mystical. The shell it's a treasure from the sea. It's used in medicine. And when you get into the shell engravings as well, my focus has always been with the Southeastern ceremonial complex, the Temple Mount culture. But I also have went back to the Hopewell culture and Adena culture going back 3500 BC, and some of the iconography pieces made out of shell, copper. And this is one of my own designs. It's a praying hands with the 4 levels in the fire, 3 levels there for the upper world, middle world, and underworld. And below that you'll find a hummingbird. She's the bringer of tobacco, the bringer of medicine, and she's also known as a soul carrier. And then again, below her is the spider again, and then the loggerhead turtle. That's copied from a Calusite piece. That's a loggerhead from Marco Island. And here, this is more the traditional style that you see here. This one particular piece is what anthropologists call a stylized zoomorphic icon, which is really Chaban Loja, that's Turtle Boy. But there's 5 animal powers in this piece here. There's turtle, frog, rattlesnake, panther, and boy all in that one image. And then there's the dolphin, and what I call the Muskogee Cosmos, and the Hiahoget, the star teacher. And this is the medicine twins. And all these little J symbols you see here have been defined as breath scrolls. You're literally looking at words, a chant, a prayer. This is one of my favorites here. It's the Birdman. I can take this off so you don't get any. But that's a military style gorget done in the crescent shape. In 16th century, those were really praised by a lot of people. The Europeans wore that style gorget, and then the Muskogee people started to adopt it. And that's the Birdman, the medicine twins with the breath scrolls.
And what's the significance of the medicine twin?
Well, in twins on the grounds, usually it's always done in 2. And I think that has to do a lot with going back to Muskogee medicine being duality, the mirror image. All that plays a role in it. And in the classes that we'll give, the students will get a real appreciation from the labor intense in the shell work, from the mother of pearl being soft, but we'll probably start out with river mussels. We'll work with freshwater shells because they're softer than a saltwater shell. But then after a few days of carving freshwater shells, we're going to go into saltwater shells, and it'll give more of appreciation. This illustration was done by Dean Quigley. This painting was done for the Tunica Biloxi tribe in Marksville, Louisiana, to show you what a primitive shell workshop could have looked like. This is the lightning whelk right here. Everything was made from that shell: ornaments, utensils, tools, woodworking tools, chisels, gouges, picks, hammers. But you can see how in this illustration it's depicting they're bringing them up the Mississippi River here to the site. In all your archaeological sites throughout the Southeast, Midwest even, that shell is found. That shell was used more than any other. It's been found as far north as the Canadian border. And even little shell masks were made from that shell. And some would be made to fit an adult's face, and some would be just an inch. And a little mask like that is believed to have probably went into medicine bundles.
Dan, what's this guy doing on the left here?
On the left, he's scribing. He has an engraver in his hand, and he's scribing into the shell. In the center figure, he's drilling a bead out, and in the far right, he's observing a ear pin that has just been created from the columella of the lightning whelk. The columella is the core. The Latin name from that shell is Busicon contrarium. But the reason that shell is so sacred is because it turns counterclockwise, like I was telling you before. This glass piece is carved with a micro sandblaster that I use back home to do my glass work. And that's carved in 1/4-inch glass. And that piece was inspired from Jerome Tiger's work of the ball players, but I placed it in a whole different position. These are one of the first pieces I made for my wife when we started dating 10 years ago. But in the center is the little brother of the sun, and I want it to have the appearance of a supernova, just an explosion going off there. Now, when the light shines through the side of that glass, it works like fiber optics. It illuminates the piece, but we won't be able to demonstrate that with this glass. And that's what we want to do for the museum exhibits, have them all lit up with light. And the centerpiece is Osceola looking through the grass. And the grass is scratched in with a diamond point.
Now, in the class, are you going to teach any of the glass?
No, we're just going to concentrate on the shell work to start with. And then there'll be a lot of other classes. There'll be embossed copper work. There'll be rawhide work. There'll be clay work. There'll be wood carving classes. Carving Swift Creek pottery stamp designs and wooden paddles to work into clay pots. There's at least a half a dozen different classes that we'll be doing. And the latter one, I might bring my glass equipment out here and start giving some glass classes too.
And we should probably mention the dangers of working with the shells and the glass.
Oh yeah, especially the glass. The glass can cause silicosis. This is pure silica at its purest form, and you do not breathe it. And you don't want to get it in your eyes. It has to be worked in a real closed environment. You're working inside of a carving cabinet, and you have a vacuum system that pulls all the dust into a container. And the shells are toxic as well, but they're not as toxic as the glass. The glass can kill you a lot quicker, but they both can kill you nevertheless. There's some shells that's more toxic than other shells, like the abalone and the quahog that the wampum's made from. Those are probably the most toxic shells there is. But the conch shell's not so bad, but we'll be working in an environment where the students will not be breathing the dust. What I plan to do is do all the heavy cutting and prepping the pieces for the students to just finish engraving pieces and get a knack for engraving and tooling the shell.
The last time we were up in Oklahoma City, we visited the site of the American Indian Cultural Center and Museum. And really, when we were there that time, there was some construction going on, but just a little bit of dirt work and a little bit of building and a little bit of moving here and there. Well, we decided to go up this past week, and there's lots more going on up there. The construction has really taken off, and a big part of that is Centennial Builders, Manhattan and Flint Co-Construction working together. And we had to go and visit because a good friend of ours, a good friend of this program, Miss Gina Timberman, has been named the Executive Director of the American Indian Center for Education. And she basically, in that stead, that is the state agency that is in charge of putting together American Indian Cultural Center and Museum. That's just one of 4 projects they have going on, but an amazing, wonderful project it is, and we were glad to be able to be there and talk about it with Gina. All right, we found ourselves at the site of the American Indian Cultural Center and Museum right here in Oklahoma City, and I am with Miss Gina Timberman, and she has a new position she needs to tell us about because it's been a while since we talked to her, and you kind of stepped it up a little bit. What's going on? What's going on with you?
Thank you. Welcome down to the site. Coming down to the site this morning. It's cold, but we have a lot going on. We're always excited to share with Indian Country and with the members of our community. I was pleased to be appointed recently as the executive director of the state agency building the project, the Native American Cultural and Educational Authority. And we're about to go out to the site and see what the authority has been accomplishing with this project. We have starting some new exciting activities with a welcome center that we're beginning the pier drilling this month and starting the foundations, and you get to see the update on the construction. So thanks for coming down.
Oh, we're very excited to be here. And one of the things I was going to talk to you about, you are talking about the Welcome Center, and I understand it'll be sometime around September or so when it'll be completed.
Yes,
and I was talking to
absolutely.
Shoshana about it, and we were like, when we first started, doing things on the AICCM, it was, guys, it seems like it's so far away, but now it's kind of here, and it's very exciting.
It's becoming a reality. It's been very motivating for myself, especially, and just to see members of the community coming down to share with everyone what's actually happening. It is motivating to see construction. You're starting to see the fruit of the labor of planning. We've been through these planning phases, and now we're implementing the plan, not just with the construction, but with developing an institution with the educational programs and the cultural programs that a visitor can experience after opening day. So a lot of exciting things to share.
Yeah, that's one of the things we were talking about. It's so varied and so vast, and the amount of information and the amount of great cultural artifacts that are going to be at this place. We were talking about
Right.
the Welcome Center is one of the things, but also, having the living history, sort of the places,
Right.
and really getting a feel of not just, seeing some information, but actually seeing where it's at,
Right.
going there. And for you being executive director now, you got to feel so pleased with the progress of everything.
It's exciting, thank you. And working with the team, we're slowly ramping up our team and our programs so that we have an opening day. We're regularly bringing on new staff members that can really begin implementing these exciting programs. So it's a really special time.
Absolutely. And how about you take us and we'll take a look at some of the stuff going on.
Absolutely, let's go.
All right. Okay, we've made it out on the construction site here, and as you see behind us, overlooking downtown Oklahoma City, a perfect location, really.
Absolutely. We're here not just in the center of our city by downtown Oklahoma City and Bricktown, but we're literally in the geographic center of Oklahoma and also of Indian country. So it's fitting that we would come back to the river to build, just like indigenous cultures have for thousands of years. We're building not just with this dramatic construction and the architecture, but with earth architecture. We're standing on right now what will be our promontory, a great promontory that will ramp up beautifully around the site and embrace the visitors that come to the site to see the cultural center. What we're standing on now is only about a third of its actual height, and so it'll be quite dramatic.
Yeah, that's what they told us when we first started putting the dirt up. They were like, this is tall, but it's going to be a lot taller. And it's a perfect site, and I'm going to need you to take us around right now. And I need a little a synopsis on all this that's going on, because I really can't get full scale of it right now. There's so much going on out here. It's really great. So let's hop in the truck and go look at it.
Here we have on the site a great deal of the construction activity, and you see that concrete little passage area over there. That is our West Passage Tunnel. Eventually, visitors will be able to cross through that tunnel and to experience a large gathering space on the other side of the promontory that will be a space for outdoor gatherings, community events, dances, social activities that will bring fellowship to the community for Native communities and non-Native communities alike in Oklahoma. That West Passage Tunnel, like other points on the site, are aligned with the solstice points. The overall design for the project was awarded an International Design Award, and it's fitting that we would align the solstice points because of that cultural importance to reflect on traditional values and traditional ways for Native design, like building with the earth architecture, which we're sitting on now on this earthen promontory. But as you span across the site and visually, you see the different preparation for the pier drilling, for the Welcome Center. The Welcome Center will be a place that will connect visitors up to the different points of Indian country. We have the capacity to have a corridor of a cultural experience in Oklahoma by connecting these different locations up. The Cultural Center will be a satellite institution that will do that through its Welcome Center. Actually, what we're looking at here is the loading dock for the gallery spaces. This will be the major point of loading. This was the largest concrete pour for the project thus far is in the south gallery area, and what we're looking at right now is the loading dock area. As we pan across from the loading dock over to your right, begin to see the pier drilling that's taking place on the visitor center more up close. We just started the pier drilling yesterday, and we already have 10 drilled, so we're making great progress on that, on the Welcome Center. Will be completed about September of this next year. It's very exciting. We really see that as a point to bring delegations of tribal representatives, legislators, and others up front to share in the construction progress. But once the cultural center is completed, this may be the last stop for a visitor to go out and learn how they can really learn more about the tribes across the state of Oklahoma.
That's going to wrap us up from the construction site. Gina has been so helpful and so gracious to give us some of her time and tell us about some of this stuff, because I wouldn't know what's going on, but thankfully we have her to give us all this information. Gina, I know you're very, very proud of this, and the construction is ongoing all the time. Very impressive what's going on, and we can't wait to come back and see you guys here in a few months and see where it's at.
Thank you very much. This is our project. So thank you for coming, learning the construction progress. We have a long way to go, but as you can see, we've come a long way. So we would invite you back, keep you updated, and thank you very much.
All right, we got invited back. That's a new thing for us. Usually don't want us to ever come back. No, but congratulations on everything, and it's very good to see you as always. Well, that's going to wrap it up for this week, folks. We want to thank you for joining us. Hope you've had a wonderful experience today in this last 30 minutes and seeing some great Native American stories. Able to look back and visit with Nelson Harjo. We also visit with Dan Townsend and Gina Timberman. There you saw in that last story. Wonderful Native Americans doing wonderful things for themselves and their personal lives, as well as Native Americans everywhere, just doing a great job in their personal endeavors. And it makes this job really great to be able to go out and cover those type of things. Really kept us busy. Now, next week, I want to tell you guys what we got. We got a few things coming up. Senior night at Tahlequah Sequoia High School. The senior class, boys and girls, had unbelievable success there at that high school and done great things for Sequoia. We'll take a look at senior night. Also, we'll take a look at the ongoing construction over here with the Light Horse building at the Muskogee Creek Nation. I'll talk with head of police, the police chief, basically for Light Horse, Mr. Jack Shackelford. That'll all be next week on Native News Today. I want to make sure everybody tunes in at 1:30 on Tulsa CW 1219. We're looking forward to seeing you, and we hope you're looking forward to seeing us. We'll see y'all next week.